the relaxing sound of the waves, idyllic, unspoiled beaches. For some, this would be a perfect holiday destination. But for Janice, this is the new reality of her working week. Before lockdown, she was always on the road, travelling all around the UK in her job with a cancer charity. Now she's taking mobile working to a new level. Her camper van is both her home and her office. Janice, what was life like for you before lockdown?
I would be in meeting rooms all day, but not necessarily with any windows. It's nothing like working in an environment like this, where every day you've got a different view.
When her daughter moved to Campbelltown and had a baby in 2020, Janice started spending more time in Kintyre.
And I thought, do you know, I could actually work anywhere. Had my computer with me. So I actually didn't go home for the 9 months that we weren't really allowed to travel. And I stayed here, was near my grandson, helped out my daughter at night, changed my work hours. I took up golf, bowling, started an art class by email. So things that I would never actually have dreamed of doing before I retired.
So it totally changed your perspective then?
My life just now is totally different. In the winter, for instance, we all have these wellbeing passports. So you put in what you think you need to make your life as fruitful as your work. And so part of my wellbeing passport is when it's dark, short days, then I have 2-hour lunch break and I can get for a walk or I can go for a swim. It's like perfect for me. I'm a lot healthier. If you get that balance right, you actually feel you give more than 100% of your work.
That balance also had an impact on her husband Alan, who works in retail in Glasgow.
Lockdown sort of put into perspective what your life should be about. I now take 2 days off my work, which I've never taken off before. I've always worked 6-7 days a week, so lockdown has been a bonus.
While lockdown was good for some, for others it led to tough decisions.
Pre-COVID, I had 3 cafes that I'd kind of run since I was like 22, over 20 members of staff, and lunchtime rush and office workers were kind of our bread and butter customer. So, you know, very busy during the week. Yeah, it was quite a change of speed when lockdown hit.
When you had to close the doors, there was such uncertainty at that time.
I thought, you know, this is going to be an opportunity for me to kind of look at my business from a kind of bird's eye view and kind of maybe make some changes. And then more and more time went by and, you know, it became kind of clear that perhaps office working wouldn't be ever the same again. And so then you start to think, right, okay, what am I going to do with this business that I've owned and operated for 10 years? Lots of kind of, I guess, worried nights. And yeah, just very difficult.
So after a lot of soul searching, you did decide to close?
Yeah, it was a long time coming. You know, it was kind of like over a year really of thinking about it. And, you know, at first, the slower pace of life was a real adjustment for me. And, you know, there are definitely days where I do miss it, but I feel very at peace with the decision that I made. Would I have been able to make this decision without COVID? I don't know.
Now you've had time to reflect, what do you think's next?
I have no idea, is the truth. I'm doing various kind of things kind of on a voluntary basis at the moment. You know, my husband and I would love to have a family and maybe the next chapter is going to be more about family life than about what I'm doing for work.
Sophie is not the only business owner who's been impacted by the lack of footfall. COVID has cost businesses in cities and large town centres more than 1/3 of their potential takings and shut down thousands since March 2020. But despite so many changes, the appetite for offices is very much still there. This block in Edinburgh city centre isn't even complete yet, but it's 100% pre-let already.
It's going to be, all in all, probably about 3,000 office workers on the site. The deals we've done on the office space have all been done in the last 12 months. So it's post-pandemic, with companies given the time to really think about that. So companies absolutely see the value in having office space, and I think employees do as well.
With the experience of the last 2 years, have companies that have been inquiring come to you with different requirements, different needs?
I think there's been lots of different things that have come into it. Initially, there was the concern around COVID, so buildings have become pretty much touch-free now, so touch-free entry, lifts are touch-free, lots of fresh air. Offices are being fitted out a lot less densely, so people have more space to wander around, break out. And also amenities are different, so you've got outdoor space, cycle to work, so lots of cycle and shower changing facilities. People have just got a different way of thinking now, different way of living.
So in your eyes then, office space is definitely here to stay?
Well, yeah, office space is here to stay, and I think that's evidenced by the success we've had.
But what's the advice for people still reluctant to return to the office?
Just because people have been working from home doesn't mean that's set in stone as a contractual arrangement, and they would need to go back to their employer, discuss it with them and come up with an arrangement that suits both parties, and then make sure that's properly documented.
And of course, some people would say, well, I've saved lots of money on not having to commute, I've saved lots of time as well. Where do they stand?
It makes a flexible working request and a conversation about flexible working much more realistic. I think employers will be more open to accommodating arrangements, but I think it's more likely that we end up somewhere in the middle with this sort of hybrid arrangement where probably many people are at the moment.
Flexibility is a priority for many who don't have a traditional office job. This co-working space in Edinburgh rents desks to people in all sorts of roles.
I don't work well by myself at all, so having somewhere that's small and quiet is wonderful, but also like a bit of professional community.
The reason I like coming here is because it kind of breaks things up, so get the separation kind of between home life, relaxation, and then working as well.
I don't want to hate my flat. Working from a different location kind of helps with creativity a bit, and it's just good for your body to move around.
Take-up was slow when this space first opened before the pandemic, but all that changed post-lockdown.
There was a kind of immediate increase in the amount of people who were asking to come here, the amount of emails and inquiries we were getting. It really was pretty instant after things were allowed to be that way.
And would you say there are mental health benefits as well for people to have that kind of boundary between home and work life again?
We sort of let people come in for a free day just to try it out, and it's just this sense of like, I feel so much better. I've just been like trying to work from home and just been like beating my head against the wall, and suddenly I'm here, I have a different space, and I feel so much more productive and happier. And I think that just getting that work-life balance is just so important.
Of course, in many industries, home working isn't an option.
With the best will in the world, you can't make whiskey from your house.
The production line never stopped at Glasgow Distillery when lockdown began.
Well, it all got off to a bit of a crazy start right at the beginning because we were heavily involved in making hand sanitizer. We were given key worker status.
So production staff obviously couldn't work from home.
They probably bore the brunt of it because they still had to be here all the time, and whether there was any a begrudging of their early starts at 6 o'clock in the morning when everybody else was maybe getting behind a Zoom screen in their jammies, I don't know. But everybody adapted, and the staff were all brilliant. We now have moved to really a hybrid form of working, bar production, just to allow lots of space in terms of the office.
For many workers, life looks nothing like it did before COVID, and many hope that will continue to be the case.
I am enjoying just a slower pace of life. And so, in terms of employment, I don't know. My dad does say that he thinks after being the boss for a long time that I would make a terrible employee. So, we shall see.
I think there'll be a hybrid model of working, and I think that's probably more the norm rather than working from home. But definitely offices are here to stay.
We've totally changed how we work, and it'll never go back to that, which I am eternally grateful for.